evening and welcome. We are back after being away for a couple of weeks. Watch Fashion Police. How are you all in the chat tonight? As always, we have the beautiful Michaela, the Chatillon. How are you, Michaela? Great seeing you. I feel like I just saw
Excellent.
you.
I
just saw
know.
you. So weird.
Quite
Welcome back.
literally did.
Welcome back. You guys look fresh, considering you just had a nice little journey.
Look
She
who's
had
talking.
a long way to go. You didn't.
Well, you
Yeah,
look
she had a
fresh.
long
Look
flight.
at
I
you.
didn't. Yeah, I'm all burnt out because I just got off the plane a couple of hours ago. Dirk is looking spectacular, rather splendid this evening, I must say.
I figured
Getting-
in style and step with the style of Mad Men, I should clean
You've
up.
even, you've even added a little kind of patina going on there.
Just
with
now,
your
I was like, wait a minute, Mad Men's a little more muted than that. Skinny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk
Yeah,
Mad Men
perfect.
tonight. That looks great, man. Mad Men,
Yes.
7 seasons of bliss. I
Yeah.
assume most of the audience have seen the show and love the show. Very stylish times indeed. Beautiful women and beautiful men. Even
Most
more
beautiful.
beautiful men.
Well, maybe one beautiful man.
You're not a John Slattery fan?
I mean, he's a silver fox. I get it. And I remember the first time I ever saw him was on Sex and the City. And he was a senator that Carrie was dating. And he was perfect, except he wanted him. He asked her if she would pee on him.
Oh, shit.
She should have just said yes.
She just was like,
No, she actually offered to trickle warm tea on him.
Right,
For
that's what
something
she did
similar.
in the
And
end,
he's
yeah.
like, you know what? This isn't going to work out. Yeah. Good stuff.
Well, this is suggested by a viewer, actually. I can't remember who it was. If you're in the chat, let us know. So just remind me of your name. I'm so sorry, man. There's a lot of people in the chat, so I get mixed up. But it was a great idea. And it's a show that we all love, and they all have some beautiful watches. Don Draper has a few, actually.
he does.
And we can go through the main characters, both male and female, and the gender fluid ones. No, that's one thing about that show. There was none of that stuff at
They
all.
were men and they were women.
Oh man, it was really cut and dry.
Yeah, it sure was.
So who do we want to start with? Let's do John Slattery, because we can leave the best to last. We can do the John.
The incredible Roger Sterling.
Yeah, John Slattery. We'll do. Yeah, I always think.
Who
I always
always
refer
wore
to
a
him.
vest
He did.
or a waistcoat, as the British would say.
So this guy, his character, he was wearing a Tudor, right?
Yes, he wore
Oyster
a Tudor.
Prince.
Yeah, Oyster Prince.
Yes. So beautiful.
Throughout the whole thing, I think that was his signature watch.
He ended up
switched
getting one
it
for
on.
himself too, because he loved it so much.
Right.
Really?
They didn't give him the one from the show, so they had to find him another one.
Yeah, they rented all the watches
Yeah.
from a place called Watches for Sale, and apparently the wardrobe department requested the rental 24 hours before the first shoot. They left it to last. It was like it was a really rush job.
Wow.
And yeah, they got this rental place wherever, probably in Hollywood, got the call, and they were like, okay, we got to deliver over a bunch of kind of pristine vintage watches over to a studio tomorrow. And these became the watches. What do we think of this? We like this, right? Tudor back then were they were Rolex basically, right?
It's a totally different animal from what we think of Tudor today.
Sure.
That's a proper man's dress watch, and not too far off from Don Draper's original Je le Coutre.
That's
in
right.
Style, in terms of style.
That is right. Yeah. The Memovox,
I love it.
right?
The Memovox, which was Don's very first watch, which he wore for a while.
Look at the chapter ring on that watch, though. It is
Sexy.
It's nice. It's like a coin edge or something.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. I think that vintage.
Does that have a like a target of?
Yeah, it looks like it's got a what do you call that? A sight.
Yeah,
Like a I mean, I should know what that's called, considering my band was called Hitman. We'd put targets on frickin' everything. You know what that's called?
Yeah, I mean it's
Bullseye or
yeah, it's a very popular design from back then. Yeah, what is the term, guys? In the chat, we're just the terminology has just disappeared for a minute. It's like a gun sight,
gun sight. Yeah,
going across crosshair. Thank you.
Crosshair.
There it is. Thank you. Jesus, brain.
It's only
dead
on
here.
every album cover I've ever released.
It looks almost like a crosshair, but it's going between the 6 and the 3 and 9, and it's stopping right at the loom pip. It looks like, yeah, kind of cool.
Double-breasted suit, perfect pocket square. And I'm sure that's he's not going to wear a vest with that, but he wore a vest all the time. So look at Roger, just dapper, always kind of country club style, because he was a bon vivant. He was not a self-made man. He was living off of his father's fortune and success.
That's
and
right.
He was kind of just a name on the door, and he was so angry about the fact that he didn't make his own bones, so he was struggling to do so. And of course, later on he did, but in a drunken playboy kind of way. And that's why we love him.
One thing I loved about his character is he always had vodka.
Yes.
Everyone else was having scotch. They were having rye or scotch or whiskey.
Yeah.
But it was always clear what was in his glass. And I was like, wow, there's a real drinker for you.
Yeah.
Vodka from the glass. Reminds me of the bad old days. What's he wearing here?
Well, you
Same
know what's
watch.
interesting is, yeah, as for his jacket, I noticed that of the main characters, his lapels tend to be a little bit wider, even though at the time the style was, relatively skinny lapels. But I think it's because, he's an older guy. So I think he's kind of hanging on to a little bit of the older classic style a little bit. I mean, they're not super wide by any means, but especially in the last one we just saw.
Yeah.
But
And he also hung on to the hat longer than everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
And hats were out, as we know. After JFK, hats were out.
This show won awards and was nominated for tons of awards for its costume department alone.
Did it win?
Because it's brilliant. They won at least one something, what I was looking at. But one thing that was pretty obvious that makes it look a little more costumey is just the material. The fact that they didn't actually, this is nitpicking, but they didn't actually use
the drape.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't fit like the suits of the time would have. So if they would have
super stiff.
been able to, if they would have been able to summon, some vintage suits, that would have been really, really cool. But I understand why they didn't do that, because you need a lot. But that's a little bit apparent if you're into that kind of like.
She's so thorough. I was wondering if I almost was going to say something about that, and I was like, she's totally going to do it. Because the suits of the time were incredibly stiff.
Yes.
And that they didn't have that soft, drapey, luxurious fabric, even the high-end suits. And in those days, you didn't have Tom Ford or, the girls had Dior and Chanel, of course, but the men had Botany 500. They had Brooks Brothers, which is basically what these guys were wearing. And that stuff would have been super stiff, super boxy. And these things really kind of cling to them a little bit more than they would have in reality. And I knew you'd nail that. Yeah, the fabrics were different then.
Yeah, and you'll also notice, obviously not in these beautiful promotional pictures, but throughout the show, you'll see just a little bit more scrunching and wrinkling, but it's not bad. It's really not super bad. But I'm just saying, more than you would if you actually had those fabrics. However, I bet the actors really appreciated that they weren't wearing those actual vintage suits that were heavy, hot. I'm sure they're already boiling under all those layers, but it's just one of those things if you're into the eras.
Look at Roger there in the back of that. I'm assuming is a big giant Mercury.
What is that fabric? I mean, that's not pinstripe, is it? There's like double pinstripes going down.
I mean, I'm at my screen. It's very, very dark.
I see what you're saying.
Oh, it's pinstripe. No, it's pinstripe.
Yeah, I see it.
That's classic pinstripe right there. Yeah, I just lighted my screen up. Yeah, that is classic pinstripe. Yeah.
It's
Wow.
very gorgeous.
It's a
And
really bright. Just to show you how dark my screen is.
yeah, you have it really down. Yeah, the pocket square isn't a square either. It's the
Free falls,
Sydney
yeah.
Opera House.
Yeah, it looks great, right?
It's kind of nice.
Yeah,
And I
this is
like
a
that
very
tie. I
state.
like
This
that
is not a
silver,
still.
very, kind of very fancy tie.
Yeah.
It looks
Yeah, is
silk.
it kind
looks
of
silk, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
It
look,
looks
yeah, it's probably
very
a silk thread.
shimmery.
It's very shiny. And in those days, the gentlemen did not go crazy. Not crazy. They wore 4-over. They wore single Windsor. There was no double Windsor going on. There was none of that shit. It was a straight, like I'm wearing a single Windsor tonight. I know somebody said it was a lame knot in the comments. No, I'm doing the knot of the era. We weren't doing double Windsors. We weren't doing that. You're doing
Well, let's
very
take a look actually, because
single
Nathaniel was
4-overs.
also mentioning the suit. The suit. Let's take a look at you, man. Looking nice tonight.
Very simple. Just a simple dimple, simple 4-over, and that's it. That's all I'm
Yes, that fits
Got a little bit of
perfectly.
it. Thank you.
Yeah, the lapels and everything. It's very on point.
I had to go through my jackets to see which one looked most madmanish.
Well, you win best dressed of the
Thanks.
day.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm wearing Paul's vintage 1954 Omega Seamaster calendar, which I'll take it off and show it to you guys.
Yeah, let's see it up
Got him
close.
this for Christmas a couple of years ago, and it is absolutely beautiful. Is it focusing? Come on. It's not focusing so well.
If you keep your face out of the picture, like put it in front of your face. I can still see you from here.
There it goes.
Yeah, there. Just move it all the way towards so it obscures your face. Because
Oh, I see
then
what you're saying.
the camera might figure it out then and say, okay, I'm focusing on something else. Well, anyway, it's really beautiful. Is that 36 mil or 34?
It's 36.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Looks great on your wrist as well, man.
Right.
I'm not suited at all. Sorry again, just the flight in and dropping my bags, and I walked into the apartment. It was like I could tell while I was away, the apartment was stewing under the ridiculous heat, because of course I had all the windows closed because I didn't know if there'd be a storm. So I panicked and had all sorts of stuff to do. So I just left this thing on. This is the AP. It's completely off point. Nothing to do with that kind of era at all. Mind you, back then,
Have you no Explorer?
when they did diving, when they were diving, doing deep sea diving, they used these crazy big brass suits, these big copper suits, and that's what the bezel on this thing is based on. So there's a light, if you could even call it some sort of connection. Michaela, what are you wearing tonight?
I'm just wearing the Bulova Classic women's watch.
Oh,
Rose
very
gold.
nice.
It's not going to focus, but I just thought this was the closest thing I had to a vintagey looking watch.
yeah,
Perfect. Really suits the dress. Gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
very, very elegant. You look very German. I guess the Austria thing rubbed off on you now.
I know, it got to me.
You
it
look
got
like a
to me.
Fräulein with the hair tied down like that.
Oh, Dankeschön. You know, I'm gone in Europe for 1 week and I changed my entire personality.
Everybody does.
I feel like
No, I'm
ordering
joking, I'm
6
not.
enormous beers from you.
Did you drink beer there?
I did.
Nine.
9. They just had
I
coffee
drink-
and a shitload of fucking vodka martinis.
Yeah, I had vodka. I had some Riesling, and I had a lot of Austrian or Viennese cafe. A lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds
when I
great.
got back, when
It
I
was
got
fun to
back
watch.
yesterday, I got back around 4. I passed out, and then I slept. And I thought I set an alarm for just an hour because I wanted to get back up, get back on my normal sleep schedule. And then I woke up at 2:45 this morning, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm wide awake." So I've been up since 2, which to me that's very odd because I'm very much a routine person. But
Nah, jet lag will get you every time.
I feel pretty good though, surprisingly. Yeah,
Well, you do own a Viennese cafe. That'll help.
right. Honestly, I am fueled by caffeine right now.
So getting back to Roger Sterling, this is the tuxedo, right, from Tudor. So what are we giving this? I mean, I think it's perfect for him. I'm giving him a 10 out of 10 for this.
10 out of 10.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Raj.
agreed.
very, very
Love him.
classic. Really small on his wrist there, but these are the times. That was
Is
the
that a
way it
34?
was. Looks like a 34 to me. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hey, it was super rare to even get a 36 mil watch back then. You know.
Yeah, I guess it was.
Let's go have a look at Don's because Don has a few, and of
Sure.
course he has the JLC,
The Memovox,
the
right? The first one.
Memovox, which looks quite like it. Although now that I'm comparing them,
No, it's just the color palette. Yeah.
it's quite different. Uh, I mean, classy. It's JLC. Can't argue with it. Have any shots of it on him? There you go.
He looks
Yeah,
so young there. My God.
it's the
Is that too
first.
young for you, Dirk?
I mean, no. Take ham, whichever era there is.
Whatever you can get.
I
from
like
him.
the new dad bod ham era. I'm happy that he's embracing his elder statesman like appearance. He's not trying too hard and he's looking like his age, and I think it's great. He's on this terrible new show. It was unwatchable. Good
What's it
Omens.
called?
Ugh, I don't know what. It's some madcappery British with Michael Sheen. The guy's a devil. The guy's an angel. He plays John Hamm plays the angel Gabriel with amnesia. It was just, I don't know. It's that one kind of British humor I just don't get. I try, but I watched it, and he's walking around naked in it, and he's got like a regular 50-year-old guy's body.
And you still love him.
Yeah, he's still John Hamm. He's comfortable in his own skin. Yeah, I mean, there's only a window of time where Grace Kelly was Grace Kelly. You know, there's only a window of time where Sophia Loren, even though she's had tons of plastic surgery, there's a window. Everybody has their window of their most attractiveness. It's, you know, and the best you can do is just look as good as you can. This was an extraordinary time for an extraordinarily handsome guy. And he'll age gracefully, I think, without getting too much Botox. I don't think he's the type.
I love that pic.
I mean,
smoking.
That's that
Freaking.
just the epitome of the two of them.
Oh man, it was hard. It was hard watching that show and not having a drink. You know,
I mean,
you needed a drink after a few minutes. You're like, oh shit, because you're just watching them drink constantly through the entire show.
I mean,
and it just
these are
gets you going.
that had careers, high paying, high octane careers, and they were soused just about half their day. They'd get into work, they'd have tons of coffee, and at lunchtime they'd start hitting the martinis and the old fashions. I mean,
How wonderful is
and
that?
dressed beautifully. Look at the
Can't even
clothing.
imagine functioning like that at work.
Everybody did it back then.
I know, I can't imagine.
I mean, you wouldn't
Because
have probably
I can't
noticed
hold
it.
back my truth. I can't hold back my true like opinions when I have a couple of drinks, so it wouldn't work out for
Can't
me.
wait to have a couple of drinks with Michaela and hear all of that
Yes.
off camera.
Oh my gosh, it'll be fun. Yeah, we were
Well-
missing you on our live stream.
Yeah,
I
you
watched
would've
it and
been
it was
great out there.
terrific. What was can you say what hotel you were in now? That was the
Yeah, no,
Yes.
I was saying it everywhere. I mean, I probably should know better, but I was saying that it's the Imperial Hotel.
yeah, that bar was
Yeah.
extraordinary.
Oh,
Yeah, and my
yeah.
favorite part is it wasn't overly packed because I think people feel a little bit like you're meant to just kind of stay calm there and be classy. And if you want to go out and be crazy and have fun, it's not really the place to go. So it wasn't too busy. It was perfect. Yeah, so pretty.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's the perfect location. Yeah, we did miss you, Dirk. But you know what? Michaela might be coming to Venice at some point because we're going to do the PT Uomo thing.
Oh,
And on her way to Florence, herself and Eric are going to stop through Venice, or at least that's the plan or the idea right now.
Yeah.
You should get your ass on a plane too, Dirk. And let's all do it.
Yes, you should go to
Let's
PT
do a
Uomo
watch
this-
Fashion Police
next
from,
summer.
from Venice.
we could
from-
report live.
Yes,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Imagine.
I noticed that John Hamm is doing the Lord Fauntleroy there on his sleeve.
Yeah, he is.
I spot that everywhere now. I've seen.
Yeah, you can't help it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. I mean, look how big the cuff is too. It's very loose.
That's a big one. Yeah,
You know, it's very.
it's a big. It looks like a big newspaper wrapped around his arm.
Yeah,
yeah.
I hate
That's
it.
the style you love, Dirk.
Yeah, I hate it.
No, it's definitely exaggerated.
Yeah, it
It's
is. It's
exaggerated.
exaggerated.
Yeah.
Listen, this is theater. It's theater on TV. So they were looking to exaggerate as much as they possibly could.
So what is that little triangle on the Gégé Lecoultre?
I guess it's just pointing at 12. One of those crowns on the right. See the way it's not a centered crown? There's one at 2 and at 4. I'm assuming that one of the crowns turns the center, that plate in the center of the dial, so you can time things or set it to some other hour or something. Maybe it's just a timer, like a bezel, you know.
One of our smart people will tell us exactly what that function is. Hey, old watch lady, we see you. Hi.
Yes, and Jer's in the room as well. Jer O'Malley.
Shut up. Hello,
Yeah,
beautiful Jer.
She's getting to know all the interwebs now. She's even on Instagram. My ma's on Instagram.
I'm barely on Instagram.
Yeah, you got to get on there, man. I'm
that's
loving
an
this
alarm,
watch.
apparently.
Oh, it's an alarm to set.
Yes.
It's an alarm.
That is a stunning watch. Absolutely beautiful.
I would definitely like it.
So pretty.
I love all of Don's watches. Every watch he ever wore. And
Yeah,
I love
I
his
agree.
Explorer. That's coming up.
Yeah, let's move on to that. Let's move on to the Explorer. That's the next one down. It's a very famous photo. This, I have to say, was one of the photos when I was getting into luxury watches that really inspired me. Just the style, everything in that photo made me want to get into watches.
Absolutely love that watch. Oh my God.
That's
He's
a
just selling
36
it
mil.
too there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
He's selling
Of course
it.
he is.
Just casually draping his arm, flexing, having a cigarette.
Yeah, we were talking about how to show off a watch. You know, how
Without
to
being
pose
too
with
obvious.
a watch. Yeah, that I don't think I've seen anyone do that exact pose other than that photo. I mean, that's so relaxed and very, very casual. It's also quite loose on the wrist. It's hanging off the other side of his arm a little bit, which
Sure,
is
it
kind of
is. It's
nice.
loose.
Yeah, it's like a bracelet. Well, look, this is the classic, of course, the Explorer 36 mil, the ultimate tool watch, many would say, from Rolex. Can't argue with it.
No. You
Probably was a big and aggressive looking watch at the time.
can't imagine.
The model that he's wearing, is that a vintage model or
Oh yeah.
okay?
Yeah, it's from back then. A straighter lugs on it, 36 mil. They have a 40 now. They had a 39 and then a 40.
So it's a
his same
sports
character.
watch, though, right?
It's the ultimate sports adventurous watch.
Doesn't he typically stick to dress watches? So it's a little bit
Indeed.
unusual for his collection.
Exactly.
He did.
Yeah.
It was.
I mean, this thing was, you know, everybody talks about it because it was an Oyster Perpetual that went up to the top of Everest, and there's a big quarrel about whether it was actually that watch or whether it was a Smith's PRS 125 and so on and so forth. But it became, you know, they kind of reimagined it, and it became the Explorer after that whole thing. And then there's the Explorer 2 for spelunkers and so on. So it is, yes, it is a sports watch with that bracelet, the ultimate sports watch. And people go crazy after rare, odd versions. Old Watch Lady, for example, has a blacked out 369 version where there's kind of black paint on the 369. It's extremely rare. I mean, there's only, I don't know, very few of them in the world. So they get very collectible depending on the configuration.
So that model's from the 60s, though, or is that a more recent?
Oh no, that's a vintage for sure.
Well, it should be the 1016 because that's
Yeah.
what they were wearing back then. The one you see in the picture on the right is not the 1016.
Okay.
That is a more modern version of it. And in fact, the one on his wrist it may have been hard for them to actually find an original 1016. It's hard for me to tell what it is. It would have had, you know, floppy end links and so on. Would have been a much more brittle watch than the current ones or the more recent ones.
I don't
But
think
yeah,
Matthew
you're right,
Weiner would
Michaela.
have allowed that. I think he would have made sure it was. If he put a modern watch in there, the people would have gone bananas on him.
Because I feel like, yeah, a lot of men like that show, and a lot of men are into watches, and they would just pick that apart.
Sure.
They
But
would.
I've definitely heard some things about that. You know, was he going? So, what season did he wear this one in?
I think that's
Season
starting in
4.
season 4, yeah. Because season
Yeah.
5 and up,
He was having
he
a,
went
a phase, I guess. I think
Yeah.
it's stunning. It's simple perfection.
so simple, so perfect.
Yeah.
But you're right about it being not a dress watch and kind of a little clashing slightly, but again, creating that effect that we saw with Daniel Craig, also with the Omega Seamaster, a real powerful, rugged looking sports watch peeking out from under a beautiful sleeve. So it kind of shows the hard man underneath the, the nice elegant suit.
Yeah, no, I think it looks absolutely great with it. I'm just curious since he usually was wearing the dressier watches, but
I think
this
maybe
is one of the best.
a guy like him would have been the type of guy that took sports watches into the next strata. You know, a guy that was that good looking and that sartorially minded. You know, they all wore tiny little watches. He stopped wearing a hat. Maybe he started wearing a sports watch. It was guys like that, because now you see guys in suits and they're not wearing Calatravas. They're wearing Rolex. You know, so
Yeah, you're right.
maybe this was the transitional period.
Yes, he was the vehicle to take us there.
Pardon me.
Then, of course, we move into the Omega DeVille with the crosshair
Yeah.
right across. I believe that crosshair is on the underside, or maybe even the top side of the crystal, which would have been plastic. It would have been Hesselite. Some
Of
sort
course,
mineral
Hesselite, yeah.
plastic. Yeah. That's a classic. I mean, that's
Sure
the one.
is.
When I think of him, I think of this watch.
That's the one ever, because he wore it for the most. He wore it seasons 5 through 7. He wore it the most. Yeah, and that's the one. I remember seeing it for the first time in that office scene. I went, "Oh no, what is that?"
It looks a lot like Paul's watch, the one you have on.
It does, yeah. So this is the precursor. This is the 1954. This is the, this is the Seamaster calendar, which they didn't have DeVille. The DeVille name wasn't used until 1960. And I believe in 1965, it became its own thing. It wasn't the Seamaster DeVille. It was the DeVille after that. But 1960 was the first year they came out with a DeVille. So this is just a Seamaster calendar. It's got a bumper movement in it.
I want to take a look at his style. GQ have an article about it, but I think it's got a paywall popping up in front of it. Just at his most classic looks, let's take a look at because I mean I assume this was porn for you guys watching all the. I mean, apart from it being probably nearly literally porn, watching John Hamm walking around in beautiful suits, but from the point of view of fashionistas, you see there's a paywall on this, unfortunately. The beautiful suits and the style and the dress that this guy was decked out in half the time must have been something else. Let's take a
This
look.
was later on when they started to introduce more lighter fabrics, patterns, and colors as the 60s evolved from just, adding to the 50s style. Everybody started wearing, like Betty started wearing Pucci, and, starting with she was wearing kind of, bolero crop suit jackets and pencil skirts like the girls all did. And then when women started getting, becoming like Joan, becoming businesswomen in their own right. Of course, Joan's got a chapter and a book all to herself on her own style. Betty, she wore that Dior dress in Italy. We could show that later on because that was her most absolute gorgeous look ever. When those two Neapolitan mooks were hitting on her in Italy.
Yeah,
but this is beautiful. This
is nice.
Yeah, his tie's a mess there, but who cares?
You can see the wrinkles too, like what
Yeah.
I was mentioning. Now it is nitpicking, but
No,
the only
but
purpose of pointing that out is just that the fabrics are not, historically accurate, but who cares? It still looks amazing. And it's a costume at the end of the day. I think even so, it's amazing and very accurate. A lot of it is very accurate. There's a few things like the trousers being too low-waisted for the time period when
Yeah,
they're
they were.
typically high-waisted, things like that. Like even at some point, I think it was Lane's character.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. Lane Prince.
He was wearing you could see him wearing a belt with his three-piece suit, I believe.
Instead of
Which you
suspenders.
should, yeah, and honestly, his trousers should have been high enough, like to be historically accurate, where you wouldn't even have been able to see the top of them. But yeah, they would have worn suspenders.
This
But
is a classic look. I've seen him in a lot in the
Sure.
show at the
Well,
office.
But that suit is now kind of referred to as the JFK cut suit by Brooks Brothers. So you can
Really?
actually walk into Brooks Brothers to this day and buy that suit because it's been on the rack since the 60s because they made
Wow.
it for John F. Kennedy and it became the look of a generation and actually forever. It's a very simple 2-button suit. And you could tell
Kind of-
once again
it's
she's
kind of
correct.
plain, very simple, very
It's very
understated.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Later on, he'd wear like Glen Plaid and Houndstooth and incorporate patterns, but the classic, 2-pocket. Look at the sleeve is tailored absolutely perfectly. That's a suit cuff. Look at that. I'm sure we can't see the bottoms, but I'm sure that they were stovepipe. I'm sure there was no break, no cuff. I'm sure they were just straight up. And that
That's
looks
the perfect amount of sleeve.
like sleeve. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah,
yeah, I
That shit
agree.
drives me
It's
crazy when it's too much or too little.
yeah, it's annoying. It's
Yeah.
annoying. And she's wearing a classic, looks like some kind of like wool or cotton crepe, like a Jackie Kennedy style coat. Women who
those-
had pregnancies had a lot more style back then. Now it's all about the baby bump. Show off my baby bump. It's obscene almost. Before
Oh,
it was
yeah.
beautiful A lines and all kinds of maternity wear that was so attractive. And now it's just like spandex and my baby bump.
One thing as anti-feminist or progressive as this will sound, it's the element of modesty and sophistication coming together, and that's why I feel like the outfits women wore during their maternity were so much more beautiful. I think
So
it
much
really,
more beautiful.
it really, yeah. No,
It's
I've
crass
seen,
now.
I know it's like you're saying, it's spandex. It's basically nudity and like showing off the entire belly, and it's
Mhm.
just one of those things where it's a natural thing the body goes through, and it's beautiful in its own right, but it's not something to try to, I don't know. I don't
Well,
know
it's
how
just
to explain
like
this. I'm gonna be yelled at by somebody.
you could
but
be yelled at.
it's-
I'll go one further and I'll get really
the
yelled at.
baby
It's
bump,
all
the
about fat
baby
people wearing tons of spandex now, like showing off their
No.
curves.
No,
Here's my
there's just
'cause
no
that's
tasteful
Thursday's
modesty.
cheeseburger. That's last week's ribs. It's just obscene how everybody's just showing off their fat now.
This is what I had
Yeah,
to
I
eat
agree.
last week.
This is that
Oh my-
birthday cake from last year. That's
Stop.
the apple pie. I'll put it
What
on
are
the
you pointing
dunk.
at? What are you?
Come
You
on.
just went into a
No, I
southern
know.
drawl. Well, let's move over to Betty for a second
Yeah.
because
That's my birthday cake, y'all.
Speaking of that coat, though, really quick, the
yeah.
design of those coats, if you notice, they're wider
Mhm.
at the bottom. They were meant to suit the dresses at the time, or the skirts that often had the petticoats underneath them that
Crinoline,
were wider.
baby.
So I actually have a vintage style pink coat that's similar to that. And it's stunning and it fits me like a glove. But at the second half, the lower half, I was like, it's too wide. Why is it so wide? And then I started learning, and I was like, oh, because it was designed to wear under like full dresses.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna tailor it since I don't wear full dresses. But that made me really happy to know like that was the reason. It's just so interesting when you learn about the reason the clothes were the way they were, and it's just so classy. So
Yeah,
classy.
Let's take a
women
look
wore
at Betty, Anna.
crinolines under their skirts to give them a bit of flair, a bit of hoop. They were beautiful, and now it's like everybody's just wearing spandex. It's horrible. Look at this. Look
I
at
know,
Betty.
leggings everywhere.
Leggings galore. Yeah.
Did they base all her stuff on Jackie O and Grace Kelly?
Well, obviously, those were the icons of the era. It wasn't Marilyn Monroe because that was an exaggeration of a woman. The everyday woman, the everyday beautiful woman could be these people. mean,
Mhm.
Grace Kelly was about as beautiful as it got, for sure.
Yes.
Jackie
Yes.
Kennedy had the incredible style.
I feel like her style evolves a little bit. I think
Oh,
that's kind of like the purpose of probably this article showing first Grace Kelly to Jackie Kennedy's. I feel like her style throughout the series
Sure.
evolves a little more into Jackie Kennedy.
Well, here that's so conservative, right there.
Yeah,
So
no,
Yeah. Well, this
she
is
was a
cancer
housewife.
diagnosis.
yeah, sure.
This was her cancer diagnosis right here.
But yeah, the dress was very like perfect housewife kind of conservative style. And then
She's
obviously
a
that didn't
beautiful
work
woman.
out.
She's a beautiful woman, but I'm not attracted to her. Does that make any sense?
Sexually.
Sexually.
Right. I will say the same thing about John
Megan
Hamm.
Draper,
Yeah.
Megan Draper, and Joan,
Yeah,
Christina Hendricks. Yes, but I mean, she's an absolutely stunning girl. But for some reason, I just find it to be kind of, I don't know,
Sexless.
yeah, a little bit
Yeah.
like.
I think the same way about John Hamm. He's so beautiful. Why would you want to wreck that? You know, it's just
Wreck it. Oh my god. You said wreck it.
Wreck
Oh my
it.
gosh. Yeah, no, she has a very like wholesome look about her.
sure.
And she does lack
And she's
some
not stupid. She speaks
sensuality.
Italian.
Kind of looks like a robot to me.
She
A little
was.
bit.
She was like a Stepford wife in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the feel they're going for. I think. Careful
Apparently,
of your
Ashton
microphone there,
Kutcher.
Michaela.
Oh,
It's
sorry,
it's
you know how
snapping
it is.
and there's some sort of connection issue going on
Sorry.
with your phone. It's okay. Just keeps
Yeah.
ticking and snapping.
Apparently, Aston Kutcher. Am I saying his name right? He was
Ashton
saying
Kutcher.
he said the same.
Kutcher.
Kutcher. He said the same thing to her. Apparently, that she was very plain. Not that you called her plain, but and he said that she was never going to be a big starlet.
Ugh.
I don't know the I don't know the context of that conversation. I just know that,
Because he's
which is
Tom Cruise.
harsh. Yeah, I mean you're right. I mean, yeah, I mean it's harsh, but
I see
Just
that
saying.
guy in a movie and I won't watch it. Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton
It has
Kutcher?
zero interest for me to watch anything that guy's in.
Tim Wright in the house, $10. Thanks so much.
Timmy.
Welcome home, everybody. Cheers, Dirk, Michaela, and Nushin. Happy you guys had a fun trip. I'm downloading all of these live streams in preparation for PT Uomo.
thank you.
When Michaela
was
will
a good
finally
trip.
get her hands on Tim and fix him and
I'm gonna cut
get
his
some
hair.
style.
I'm gonna bring some scissors and cut his hair live.
Fantastic.
No, I'm joking.
He's ready for some style makeover, right? Timmy's a handsome
Yeah.
guy. Give him some
No, it'll just be fun. He
some
doesn't
tippies.
have to change it, but it'll be fun.
couple of tippies for Timmy.
So this is when Betty is kind of expanding out. Does she ever wear a watch? I'll go look. But
She does.
she's beginning to. That's kind of summer attire there or something.
This was and that's Mona. She doesn't get if we could get some shots of Mona, Roger Sterling's first wife, who in real life is his actual wife and the former wife of George Clooney, Talia Balsam, who had terrific kind of matriarchal style. She was never the ingenue. She was always the matriarch, and she had great grand style in a lot of scenes. She's a very powerful character, Mona Sterling. And they've been happily married for like 30 years. Married to Clooney when they were very young.
That's interesting.
Ah, yes. She's actually kind of gorgeous. Let me pull her up
Oh,
here.
God, she's gorgeous. She's
Yeah.
Martin Balsam's daughter. The great Martin Balsam.
Sorry, guys. I'm just chasing my tail here with all the links and this
Yeah.
shit. Betty Draper does have a watch, but do you think I can get a website that will show me up close without putting me behind paywalls and all sorts of crap and just nonsense? So this is the lady you're talking about here. She is quite beautiful. Do you see it? Sorry, did it come up? Sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a
this
great
is
shot.
amazing.
Great shot.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah.
she's put together very well. I think
The
that's one
bugle
thing
bead
to
dress. Yeah, look at that.
yeah, this is obviously in costume, but I think it's a good lesson just for anyone, men or women in general. You don't have to have an exact golden ratio face. Honestly, putting yourself together and paying attention to the details will make you far more attractive than even naturally having the golden ratio face, perfect symmetry and all that, and not putting yourself together. So it's really interesting to note that about style, is that you don't have to be, I'm not saying she's not conventionally attractive at all. I'm not saying that. Especially as an older woman, she's extremely lovely. But I'm just saying that she isn't necessarily the Angelina Jolie face, right? So, but putting yourself together makes worlds of difference in elevating yourself in the way you look. And it will also change the way, when you look nice, you'll carry yourself differently. And obviously, like, yeah, she's in character, but you see her poise, her shoulders back, her confidence, and that all plays a part in it.
Sure. Moving on, let's go back to the watches. So Megan Draper, very interesting. I believe I have it set up here.
Zooby, zooby, zoo.
Oh my God.
Did that just destroy America when she did that? I mean, did it?
That was just crazy. I was like,
yeah.
I was gaga over her when she was on this show.
Her looks are stunning. I love her looks. She's very modern in the way
she wearing
that she
Jules
dresses.
Jurgensen, huh? Look at that.
Jules Jurgensen, yeah.
Oof.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, wow.
It's stunning.
Yeah. He was so angry at her for performing that song at his birthday because she sexualized herself. He was so angry at her. Do you remember that episode, Michaela, where it was Dawn's birthday in their beautiful bachelor pad and she performed and everyone loved it and he was furious?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, he knew who she was, and that was something that attracted him to her.
Yeah,
and then
but men are dicks, and he was such a douchebag. He really was a flawed character, very flawed.
Yeah.
You know, he wanted her to give up her stuff, but then later on, obviously, you know, when she wanted to go back, he realized that he was better off. Look at that. I mean, my God.
Yeah, isn't that kind of a classic watch for her, because she's very modern? So I think that's an interesting contrast. Yeah, and I loved her style.
High maintenance as well. Kind of high, like, look, it's diamond encrusted. It would have cost an arm and a leg. It's like, yeah, you've got yourself a really, really smoking hot younger wife now. Buy me shit, you know? Buy me all the best stuff. I want all the latest. I want the latest craze, the latest trend, whatever everybody's gone crazy about. I want that dress. And I want it before everybody else. I got the feeling that they were every single scene she had a different dress on. You know, he was like spending all his money on her.
She was always coming home in the apartment with like Bergdorf Goodman and Hermes and all the classic Best in Company, Saks Fifth Avenue, all the boxes.
Right.
Oh, they went out shopping and, you know, they had ridiculous. It was what only the uber rich did on Fifth Avenue. You know, and he just was. She'd given up her life for him. You know, she was an actress. Well, she was a secretary and with aspirations. And then she wound up becoming an actress. Then she lived her life in Los Angeles at the end. It was a very well thought out character. And then, of course, Betty became, you know, Mrs. Francis and became the Jackie O. Other than that one season where they put a fat suit on her. Do you remember that? January Jones got fat. Well, so his ex-wife is fat as a house, and now he's married to this beautiful young girl. That's why they did it. It was incredible.
They did her so dirty.
They did her so dirty.
You know what's so funny is because he has this woman, and she's young, fresh, she's exciting, modern, she's a working woman, and his ex-wife, he looks at her as like bitter, resentful. Sure. But then she ends up becoming bitter and resentful against him as well. Yeah. It just shows that he's the problem, the common denominator. He's definitely, like you said, a troubled character.
And let's face it, she was the world's worst mother. Oh, man. Eddie Draper will win the award for worst mother.
That's with the fat suit.
Yeah.
Why would you say she's a bad mom?
Oh my God! Just watch the show. Watch it again.
I need to watch it again. I don't remember
I do
her
too.
being
Now
a bad mom.
I watched the show in its entirety, like maybe 2 or 3 times, and she's just an atrocity. I mean,
I love
Sally
to
and
judge
her.
people. I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, Sally is
Rewatch
just
it.
a very confused girl. You know, we get to watch. That's Kiernan Shipka, who's a brilliant actress. We get to watch her. They had a bunch of Bobbies, maybe 4 or 5 different Bobbies on that show, and they
Uh-huh.
had just one Sally, and we watch her from being this adorable little girl to being a precocious preteen to being this astute pre-adult who knows what she wants and knows who her parents are, and she calls them both out on it. There are so many great scenes between Sally Draper and her parents. Outrageous.
Hmm.
It's really
We
oof.
watched that young actress grow up on
We
the
watched her grow
screen.
up from a little girl. Yeah.
The son was 5 or 6 different actors over the years, but I feel like Sally Draper was the same actress the whole time. Look at this look here in the office. I know you don't go for a black suit and black tie because you feel like you look like a waiter, Dirk. Correct?
No, I like it.
I've heard you shit on black tie,
Well, I think
black suit with a white
I
shirt
think
because
it
you said
looks
you look like a fucking
funereal.
bartender or a waiter or something.
Well,
in a
I mean,
restaurant.
either looks like a waiter or it looks like you going to a funeral. It's either or. I think if you're going to wear a black suit, you should definitely zhuzh it up with either a pale blue shirt or a contrasty tie. I don't think you should wear, black tie is black tie for a reason. And I believe in. I think a lot of the old rules should stand. Everybody got into that monochrome thing for a while, but I don't know if this is. Let me see if I can brighten up my screen because I keep my screen real dark. Is that black on black? I mean,
It looks like black on black right there. Yeah.
I mean, listen, this guy.
He's
could wear
got the
a paper
Explorer
bag.
on. Yeah, he could
Yeah.
wear anything. He's got the Explorer on, I think. That looks like that.
Gentleman's Gazette. I read that.
Gentleman's Gazette is a great channel. Shout out to them. Great channel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
I got
very
into
knowledgeable.
watches through partly through their the channel. Okay, what's going on here?
Okay, this is the late 60s, and here come
Knock
the
yourselves
checks.
out, guys.
yes.
And here comes
That's
the checks.
something.
Listen, this is probably around 68-ish. This is when Pete Campbell moves to Cobb. He finally gets out of Manhattan and he moves to Connecticut. And there's Ken Cosgrove, and this is country club chic of the time. This is casual wear. This is what
it's a little
men
more
wore.
preppy.
Yeah, this is what men wore for casual wear. You got Pete Campbell in his Easter finest. I mean, what's
It's
going on
so
there? With his
bad.
lemon jacket.
So bad.
But man, what's funny? That jacket on Don, it looks so ridiculously garish and it's cut so boxy. But if that thing was cut really like modern, it would probably be super sexy. And he's just, look at you put that guy's mug on there and it's fine. And Ken Cosgrove is always just a stiff. Always. And looks very muted. He's got that's check, but it's kind of like a big pane, like window pane almost. But yeah, I mean, this is what the guys wore when they were going to the country club or maybe to church or a picnic. People didn't wear, a t-shirt. Nobody wore t-shirts.
Seriously, now it's all just basketball shorts, sweatpants, joggers.
Printed tees. I mean, that business should go. I mean, concert tees. There used to be a time when there was a concert tee. Now it's just, unrepentant and all this bullshit that people buy at the Gap and printed tees to go to a restaurant. Yeah,
So
fuck
specific.
off. You're unrepentant. Shut up. People walk into restaurants with the, we all know I'm famous for hating flip-flops and cargo shorts in restaurants, but also you're going to a dinner at night and you're wearing a printed t-shirt. Ugh, you have zero class.
Gross.
I appreciate you for this so much, Dirk, because
Horrifying.
I think having these opinions as a female, people will just call me pretentious. They'll call me all these things. So I'm like, I'm going to make a channel and kind of explain why I see it this way. And maybe I can sway some people to my side. If not, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But hearing other people just freely speak about that makes me feel so much better. I just feel like I feel alone sometimes in those opinions, but
I understand why you feel alone because everybody's wearing cargo shorts and a printed tee and they're in a restaurant. They look like slobs. They just look like slobs.
Especially nice restaurants. It's there's no effort anymore. And
let's talk about first
you're a
class
bad
on an
person.
airplane.
my gosh. Yeah, you're a bad person for even
I'm a
having a
terrible
slight
person, and I know it.
expectation. I know. You're just garbage for expecting, or at least, hoping that people would put in a tiny bit of effort and be slightly less comfortable than their sweatpants.
If you
Sammy
are,
D 499. Why do I feel like if Dirk stands up, he's got no trousers on. He's in his boxers. I know it.
Oh,
wouldn't you
goodness.
like to know? When
Andrew
people get on,
Walkovich as well, $5. Hello, everyone. Looking great.
Andrew.
Enjoy the show. I'm at work. We'll catch it later in the recording. Upvote. It's free. It only takes a moment. Andrew is right.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you so much. Like we've discussed this ad nauseum on this show. If you're sitting in a fine restaurant or you're on an airplane and business are first, why would you want to sit next to somebody who's celebrating their curves and spandex or wearing flip-flops, cargo shorts, or dirty sneakers? I watch a lot of aviation videos, aviation enthusiasts. I like people, all these guys have so many points now, so they're always flying. It's all about first in business. I got upgraded, or I'm flying on Emirates. And you know what? 99.9% of them are pigs. And I'm like, first of all, one guy, I'm not going to mention who he is, but he's an absolute degenerate. This guy shows up wearing a crusty, dirty t-shirt and then starts complaining about the airline he's on. I'm like, dude, you look like you just got off a Spirit flight. And he's flying Lufthansa first class to Frankfurt or Berlin. And he's wearing crusty shorts and a crusty printed tee. And he looks like a filth pot. And he's complaining about, they didn't have the caviar. Well, why would you be eating caviar?
Why do you care? Why do you care?
Why do you care? Go to Cinnabon like you're supposed to be. Go to whatever
Cinnabon.
Like you're supposed to.
Like you're supposed to.
Oh, I
Go
love
get
it.
a couple of snacks
so
at
funny.
Hudson News and take them on the plane with you.
You would love, Dirk, the Golden Goose, the brand Golden Goose sneakers. They are very expensive. They're popular. They range from about 600. They're very popular with women. I don't actually know if they do make men's. They are shoes where you pay 600 plus that come dirty and they look dirty. That's the look. And you would pay that much.
Up right now.
Free dirty shoes. Like you don't even have to make them that way.
What is the point?
It's like just get cheaper trainers. Honestly, even from Moncler, you can probably get cheaper, which is a French brand. Step in some puddles. You don't have to pay this. Well, Moncler is probably about the same, but you don't have to pay this much for tattered shoes. Yeah, that's on purpose. That's the look. I saw them at Nordstrom in the shoe department, and I was just, for the first time, I was just picking them up. I was like, did somebody steal the shoes from the display and trade their dirty shoes and put it there to get away with it? No.
It looks like somebody procured those shoes from a drifter's corpse.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh my god!
Yeah, no.
It's a bit like ripped jeans.
No,
Yeah.
that's
Idea,
not. They look filthy.
Yeah, that's how they're supposed to look.
Oh
These look
God.
way more accurate than the last pair he just had up. Yeah, no, ripped jeans. It's like you just buy your jeans and eventually let them rip. Why do you have to buy them already ripped? No, I mean I get it. I know what style it is. It's never been for me, the ripped jeans thing, but
Somebody said that they look like a pair. Ardua said they look like something chavs would wear. Those are the British
look at that.
hooligans
That's
and knackers in
gross.
England. What does that mean? Like council flat to council violent? Was that what it mean? Chav mean, right? Council house. What does it mean? Somebody tell us. Oh, you said it.
Chavs.
Chavs,
I know they're
council house,
they're
council house
referring
and
to
violent.
Council House and
Yeah.
Violent. Wow.
Jesus. I meant everybody's like, you see all the guys wearing their trackies, their dirty trackies, their best tracksuit, and it's always Adidas, always.
According to Watch It's Brian, Golden Goose started in Venice.
Oh
We
my
blame you.
God.
Is that
We blame
a
you, Ocean.
fact? It's my fault. It's my fault.
Pre-dirtied. Well, that's like bringing home a girl to meet your parents and say, well, she's pre-dirtied, so.
She's pretty dirty. Dear
You know,
God.
this is a great way to
Oh no.
kind of show the downfall of style. You know,
I don't
what's
like
nice
sneakers
is
with suits either, people. I think that trend
No.
needed to die in the 80s.
That's
Get a
really
pair of
bad
classic
too.
shoes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
horrible.
These things are $460.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy a bunch of like Skechers, get them really filthy and put them on eBay.
seriously.
You'll sell them. You'll sell them.
I've been appreciating the resurgence of kind of more classic style, if you notice with the youngins, but they're not all out and about wearing it, but they're talking about it online. They're calling it the old money aesthetic, which is, there is so much like controversy about that for some reason. A lot of the wealthy people are getting mad that the Gen Zs are calling it old money aesthetic because they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're stupid. It's like, shut up and let them dress better. Please stop
I'll take
complaining.
whatever moniker.
What are you doing? Stop discouraging it. Like, oh my God.
The kids today have to label everything. They can't just ride a wave. It's got to have a name. And,
yes,
it's like, the gender thing. I'm this. Somebody said to me the other day, I was having a conversation with a girl. I didn't know what her situation was, but she was referred to herself as queer. And I was like, oh.
That went through
but it doesn't mean that now.
So it doesn't mean it now.
No, queer is like kind of like taking the N-word back and repurposing it and taking a bad word. And I said, well, I don't know how I feel about queer, because usually that was the word I heard before I got punched in the face. That was a real derogatory word.
Well, originally, that's the euphemism, dysphemism, treadmill. Dysphemism, is that a word?
I hope it is, because it's fantastic.
Well, it's euphemism and dysphemism, right?
Sure.
That's why people say don't diss that. It comes from dysphemism. There's the euphemism, dysphemism, treadmill.
Right.
And the treadmill is when a word it starts on one end of the treadmill and then moves to the other end of the treadmill. So in other words, like when people used to say, oh, he's queer, that wasn't a dysphemism back then. It wasn't a euphemism either.
No,
it became so we changed. Yeah, like when people would say like, oh, he's retarded. Now, that's very offensive to say that, but a long time ago it wasn't.
No, it just meant he was mentally disabled.
And then different terms get changed. This is a totally different tangent of a conversation, but different terms get changed along the way. So like shell shock, of course, was the old phrase for coming back from the war, being all fucked up because of the shock. And then shell shock had a bad stigma, of course. And then eventually they dropped it, and then it became PTSD. The disorder, PTSD. And
which now the kids use for everything. I went to the candy store and she was rude. I have PTSD. Yeah. Everybody's got
but there's a kind of a newish phenomenon, because this thing has been going on forever, where euphemisms slowly become dysphemisms, right, over time. It wasn't a bad thing to say certain things one time, a long time ago. And then, we use euphemisms all the time. Like instead of saying I was fired, you say I was let go, or instead of saying they died, you say they passed along, or something like that. You soften the language. Sure. But some words went from being benign to dysphemisms and then back to euphemisms again. They go in the opposite direction. So maybe that's what's happening. The N word, for example, has done that. It's a phenomenon in the English language, because it, for the longest time, of course, was the worst word you could ever use. But now, of course, it's found a new home and it can even be interpreted as a compliment if it's the right two people speaking to one another. So that's a phenomenon.
I've heard people who have no business whatsoever using a word like that, but it's become so diluted in their world and their media that they think that they're entitled to use it. And
well, that's a separate thing. I'm just talking. That's a separate. But I'm just talking about the phenomena, how the language can just evolve like that. So if somebody said, what was the phrase you said you heard somebody say? You said queer.
Oh yeah, queer.
If they're trying to use queer again, perhaps what they're trying to do is go back to old terminology. Maybe. Listen, look at this picture here. This is a great thing, and this isn't to do with actual clothing, but she has what I would describe as violinist arm. So all the violinists I know in New York, they work out their arms because they're sitting on the stage like this, facing the conductor, and their arm, the deltoid and this part of the arm, if it's flabby and doesn't look good, the whole audience can see it. So all these girls, like, no matter how fit they are or aren't, they'll make sure that their right arm has that nice line between
Mm.
this definition here. It's called, we call
Muscular
it violinist arm. And
Beautiful.
she's got that right there. Look, she has a lovely defined deltoid, the posterior deltoid and the anterior deltoid. It's all defined. She's lifting weights basically is what she's doing, or she's doing a lot of heavy tennis. That's a beautiful look, no?
Yeah,
It really
she
is.
was
No,
she
it
was a
really
big
is.
mistake too.
It was just it's a feminine muscular definition. It looks really beautiful.
Yeah, it's
and
very
it's much
beautiful.
much better than just a stick arm or a flabby arm. Just
Yeah, it's
some
perfect for a sleeveless
soft
dress.
definition.
Unlike
Yeah, not like a
all the
bulky
heifers I saw at the
shoulders or
mall.
anything. Oh, he said heifers. Okay, Dirk's canceled. Well, let's be honest. She knows she's going to be on a show. She knows she's going to be in dresses. She's working out her arms, of course.
She's in the gym every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm amazed
Yoga
at how many
arms,
people
Pilates
wear
arms are
sleeveless.
crazies too. That have no business to? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying, listen, like for like I'm a person that goes up and down in weight all the time, and I know when I can wear certain things and not, and when I shouldn't. And maybe I'm just very old school, but I'm very conscious of, not looking grotesque, trying to not look grotesque. I'm amazed by people who just like wear their big flabby stuff, flaunting it to the wind, and I'm just like, ugh. Especially if you're on the subway and you're right under their sweaty armpit. I don't want to be next to somebody's bare skin like that. Midriffs, hey, if you have a charming, toned body, sure, a midriff is fine. Now everybody's got like this big, giant, jiggly belly hanging over their spandex in public. And I don't understand the point of that. What are they flaunting? They're, like I said, like it's, this is last week's cheeseburger. And it's just horrible. I don't know.
It's the body positivity movement that's done that.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's made it.
One thing I wanted to
it
mention
more
before
normal
was
to be indecent. Yeah.
Oisin was talking about language. Yeah, and remember when you couldn't say pregnant?
Oh, I don't know about
with
that.
Child.
Oh, with child was the euphemism.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, she's with child.
Yeah.
You could never use the word pregnant because it was considered, the censors would go crazy. And
it's
grill cream.
It gives you an image of what happened. She was impregnated.
Oh, Jesus. Imagine.
It gives you've been infected by that man.
Yeah. It's like when people tell other people, like, we're trying for a baby. We're trying.
Yeah.
We're trying really hard every day for a baby.
He's tried so hard every night.
Yeah. Tobster McDonkey says expecting, which is nice. Carolyn Martin. Hello, nice. Carolyn. Beautiful. She's in a family way.
In a family way. In a family way is very old fashioned. Beautiful. Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the film Vera Drake.
Oh, yes.
She's been helping young girls out. In what way? In a family way. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh my God. It's such an amazing script.
Yeah. It's a great script. That's a great movie.
Photo Dave Jacks thought the same, Toaster. You guys are talking among yourselves, huh?
Yeah, they always do.
Language is a super interesting thing like that. I get so obsessed with different phenomena in the English language. It's just endless. So, yes. Anyway, guys, watch out. Anybody who's ever watching, if you're sitting watching an orchestra, notice the arms. And notice the certain people who don't have it and certain people who put the work in. Because they know that we're watching the backside of their arm, like the part of their arm you can't see. You have to get a camera or a mirror or something. You can't see that part of your arm, but the whole audience can while you're playing. Sure. Who else are we looking at here? And were we going to look at Lane? What was his name again?
Lane Price.
Lane Price.
Mm-hmm. I have one picture I want to share with you guys.
Sure. Go for it, man.
Betty Draper wearing, I don't know what watch that is. Somebody might, but this was the watch she seemed to wear in every shot I could find.
That was the photo I was looking for earlier. Thank you for pulling that up.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously from a jewelry company, I would imagine. Does anybody in the gallery know what that is? Was it like Longines or Is it Hermes? I mean, Hermes made some classic watches for ladies back in that period of time. Somebody there will definitely know, I think. And if you do, let us know, because that's what she wore pretty much the whole time. Who knows?
She's
It could
wearing
be
it well.
Yeah, well, sure.
Yeah, I
She's
love
extraordinarily
I love
feminine.
the jewels.
Uh-oh, Carolyn Martin says she has one. It's a Hamilton. Of course you have one. Oh, Carolyn Martin.
I actually knew that because I had the whole list up earlier, but then my whole internet crashed just 5 minutes before we did this whole thing. So, and then I was knocked off. But yes, it's a Hamilton. And Pete Campbell has a Hamilton, I believe,
Yes,
as well.
he
I'm going to
did.
get to that in a second. Sorry, guys, I'm chasing my tail. Here's Lane Price. I can't look at this guy. I don't know why. I just can't look at him. He's annoying.
He's a
Too
brilliant
British
actor,
for-
though.
Too
It's
English.
too British
you.
for me.
Well,
We
That's
know
not
you
that,
love
it's
the
just-
British.
It's really stuffy.
Yeah,
and
that's the
it's
English
kind of-
style.
Yeah,
He's
but it's
Embodying it.
yeah, but also I don't know. It's just the look of him. It's kind of wallpaper look off him.
did
he
you
wearing there?
watch Chernobyl?
He was in Chernobyl. No, I did not watch it because I saw parts of Chernobyl that were grossly exaggerated. You know, a radioactive isotope like that doesn't have an effect that quickly on your skin. Anyway, that's complete digression. This guy, I think,
He
I don't
hung
know.
himself in his own office.
yeah,
That
he was like
brutal.
a tragic character. But out of all those men on the screen, including Cooper on the right there, who always dresses kind of funny. And by the way, he's done that pocket thing with the Sydney Opera House. I want to know what the name is for that thing. Although it's got 4 instead of 3, it was all earlier. I just find this guy to be super bland looking, man. He just reminds me of an old couch.
Yeah, Jared Harris.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Can you
Well,
name his father's most famous song?
It was his father. He's the
Richard
son.
Harris.
Oh, Richard. Oh, he's Richard Harris's son. Are you kidding me?
Correctamundo.
I'm seeing it now.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. Richard Harris,
Wow.
Irish. Jared Harris, British.
Well, probably MacArthur Park then.
Of course, MacArthur Park. Yeah,
Right.
that's it.
I prefer Donna Summer's version.
Well, we all do.
Same. I
Because he
love
went,
it.
MacArthur Park is melting in the dark, or the sweet green icing floating down.
Horrible.
Terrible.
So bad.
He
No,
had an
I
album
love-
called
I love
Hellbent
Donna's
for
version.
Leather. Yeah, this is a great little juxtaposition of styles. You get your British style with your boxy suit. Don's looking a little dumpy here,
Yeah.
and
Is this in the earlier seasons?
No, this
Can't
is
be.
later. No,
Can't
because
be.
Well, that's
Because
interesting. That's
Lane comes in
interesting.
later.
yeah, Lane was in
okay.
maybe season 6 because it was Sterling, Cooper, Draper, Price at that point. Because originally it was
Right.
Sterling, Cooper, then it was Sterling, Cooper and Partners, then Sterling, Cooper, Draper, Price, and then they got bought out by McCann Erickson.
Yeah, because I feel like in the early season, I feel like Don Draper's style was a little bit more baggy, almost like
Sure,
pants
well,
and everything.
yeah,
So
it-
this, and then it ended up getting a little more fitted as you went. But
This could just be the shot, you know.
yes,
Yeah, Bert Cooper here. He's like 5'2". He's an Emmy Broadway. What is it? What do they win on Broadway? They win the Tony Award winning actor from How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, which is what they did at the end of when he died. He reprised his show, the song from that show. Remember when it went into a musical in that episode where Bert comes back to Don's having a dream. Bert does this song. He's a legendary actor.
Wow. I found the. Sorry, are we going to finish up on Lane Price? Because I just can't look at it.
yeah.
Reminds
There's
me of
there's
a
not too much to say.
cold
but-
cup of tea and a stale piece of bread. That's,
That's
all I
what he
can
was,
think of
though.
when
He
I
was
look
the
at it.
epitome
Yeah.
of Britons in America and how they couldn't handle. You know, they hate his wife hated it, and you know he was afraid to offend anyone, especially
Yeah,
his business partners. And it turns out they were just screwing him. You know.
So this is Pete Campbell's watch, the Sputnik
Yeah.
from Hamilton. Very interesting looking watch.
I love
Look
how
at
that looks.
Yeah, it's
I
beautiful.
love how it looks.
It's a beautiful
And the way the
watch.
lugs are like splaying
Oh.
out like that. That just was really
It's
beautiful.
incredible looking watch for the douchiest guy in the history of television.
Everyone hated him, huh?
Sure, he was great at it, obviously, because he's such a loathsome character, such a little smarmy rat. You know, couldn't keep a secret, did everything to get one up on you, was a sleazebag, knocked up Peggy Olson. Let's not forget, she had his baby in season 1.
She gave
Oh,
it
that's
away and didn't tell
right.
him.
That's correct.
Hey, give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Yeah.
She's probably got somebody rapping on the door there.
I
at the-
hope not. I
the
fear for
cafe.
them.
Here is one for $895. Did it come up on the screen? Yes, it did.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Who has one of those?
I like the way
Watch
the
lady?
lugs. She probably does.
Carolyn
I
Martin?
like the way the lugs align with
I know.
these lines and with the 11 and 1. That's
Mm.
very cool.
It's a great look. It's a very space age looking watch, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess it was trying to mimic Sputnik, right? Because
I
Sputnik had
suppose,
the
yeah. Sputnik
Okay,
was,
sorry.
yeah, it was round with those.
yeah.
Things sticking out of it, yeah.
I'll always think that sound because they always played it. Probably had nothing to do with Sputnik whatsoever, but you know.
I like this website. Finally, a
Oh.
website where I can actually get in with some detail. I got to remember this.
That's-
Unwind in time. Everybody remind me of that later. Next time I'm doing this stuff, these guys have their shit together. Look at that. Beautiful patina on this. This is
Yeah.
gorgeous. Wow.
Wow, alpha
And
hands.
probably tritium in the loom, or maybe even radium if it's
Radium.
old enough. Who knows?
This is
Yeah.
radium.
You reckon it's radium?
Yeah.
Wow.
It says it on the website when I looked it up.
Oh.
I mean, there's
wow.
no loom left on it at all. It's all gone. But whatever's on it. Yeah, what's the half-life on radium?
16,000 years. Yeah.
I was like, maybe it's over by now. Oops.
Oh, it's no. Well, the loom of it, because what happens is the radium excites the paste, so it will. It'll still light up, but the paste is probably faded a lot by now. You know, because the isotope is not the thing that glows. It just excites the paste that it's in, and that glows.
Sure.
But yeah, tritium is what, 12 years, 13 years.
Uh-huh.
So this stuff goes on forever, and the radium girls were
Dead.
painting it onto, yeah, like sharpening the tip of the paintbrush with on their tongue, and next thing their jaw bone started falling off. Horrible story. This is amazing.
So
This is so cool. Are you back, darling?
Why do I
Yeah,
have a
can you
paintbrush
hear
here?
me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Was
I
you
know
haven't?
the
you
audio's
haven't-
the audio's
Yeah.
gonna be terrible. My phone, just the battery just wiped out, so I had to plug it in. So
Okay, no
Well, it
worries. We
looks
can
great.
still hear you. Actually, it sounds fine,
Mhm.
and there's no more scratchiness from the
I
thing.
know. I'm sorry. I'm gonna
It's
get
okay.
I'm gonna get a little microphone to fix that.
I'll send you one. What do you think of this watch?
Mm.
I love it.
Do you like that? See the way the
I do.
lugs look at the way the lugs kind of align with everything and follow all the way through to the other side. Isn't that cool,
It's a
man?
great design.
Yeah, that's the first thing that, even though the dial is very, it just pops. That was actually the first thing I noticed, the way it splays out like that.
Mm.
I think that just makes it flow really nicely, and it just looks so vintage to me. And I'm noticing more and more how much I like that. So I like this one a lot. I think it's beautiful.
It is. It is beautiful. Is that gold or is that probably plated? Everything was plated back then.
Back
They didn't
then it
have
was
gold
plated,
watches
yeah.
back then.
Well, if they did, they were 14 karat.
Oh,
Because 18 karat was just weak, and 24 was just like melt in your hand kind of thing. So yeah, I suppose that they've been inspired by Sputnik, the first ship to go into space to orbit the Earth. Right there, it is.
Mhm.
There. Why? Where did that come
I don't know.
from?
I don't know why, but
It's some
anytime you
old
ever saw
movie.
Sputnik, always. I don't know why. It was always some kind of Morse code thing. That's just whenever we saw it on TV, and we would go, "The Soviets!" God. the commies are coming.
It's
to
like
get
in
us."
Hunt, it's like in Hunt for Red October. Every time they show any of the readouts on the screen, or when it's on the screen saying where they are, like North Atlantic, but
Mhm.
it goes
You're right.
because apparently, like text makes noise for some
Yeah.
reason.
Well, I guess that's just sound design because you remember in I think it was Quantum of Solace, just the follow up to Casino Royale, the direct follow up. They had this ridiculous kind of touchscreen tables in MI6, and it would go every time it would go. "Toodaloo, toodaloo, toodaloo." It would make some kind of cuckoo sound, and she would walk into a cave, and they'd have these desks with crazy touchscreens, which of course doesn't exist. But that's beautiful. I love that watch. Wow, I never realized how beautiful the Pete's watch was. That is spectacular.
You have to get one and just walk around going.
Or
Chalk.
don't, or maybe don't.
Maybe
Or
don't do any of the
maybe
above. Chalk flew up $10. US Open begins today. Should make
Yeah.
for some good
My
watch
friends Steve and
sightings.
Larry are shooting it right now, so I will ask them for some great shots of watches.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah, they're
milk
shooting.
that shit
Yeah.
for
Today
weeks.
was the first round. Yeah, we'll milk it dry. Well, what are we going to
Nathaniel.
see? Exactly what we know. What we're going to see. Here's
We're going to see
Nathaniel.
Rolex. We're going to see Richard Mille and Rolex mostly. Apparently, the Sydney Opera House fold is called the angled peak fold.
There you go.
I'm going to pull it up right now. How about that?
Angled peak fold.
I had no idea that any. Are you guys going to admit that you didn't know that you didn't?
I did
that?
not know that was called an angled peak
I
fold.
didn't.
Wow.
I did.
And I've never done one either. I just like a plain looking. I don't even like the flouncy one. I just like the square. I just don't think I could pull that off. I think you have to be, an interior designer or something to have the flouncy kind. Yeah, I think it's good for Bert Cooper, but I think it says
Very extra.
I think it says a little your ass or mine.
Mm.
Just a little.
What do you mean your ass or mine?
So you know what I mean. Looks a little gay.
So this is what you do. You fold it around, and then you kind of curl it a bit so it reveals the other folds.
You put the first peak up, you put the second peak down, put the third peak in, then you flap it all around. And then what do you do with the
flap it
excess?
all around. You didn't change key. What kind of singer are you?
Does it change?
Then you flap it all around. It goes down.
You put the first bit in, but first it out, and you shake it all around. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around.
That's what it's all about. So you gotta stuff this into
Good
your
job, you guys.
whole thing into.
By the way, this
Let's do it again, and I'll do a third.
Michaela, you don't have to admit that you actually know us. By the way, if anybody else,
No.
we'll
This
excuse
company, Rampley & Co. If anyone wants to get a pocket square, has beautiful hand painted silk pocket squares. Something for any eye. So this website.
This one's gorgeous. This is like a map of New York. It's like illustration of New York.
Before all the landfill.
Like Japanese samurai art to like Peter Paul Rubens art on pocket squares. So to really simple stuff, they have everything, and this is a great company to purchase from. They're very easy to work with, and everything is extremely high quality.
It's beautiful.
Mike
Makes
Lewis
really
is it
great-
Savile Row?
It makes a really great gift. Yeah.
Mike Lewis, Ocean, you could do Formula One drivers' watches. We could do that. We were thinking about actually, Michaela suggested it several weeks ago. The only problem with that is there's no style. It's just watches.
And
Because they're all in those suits that they need to wear. So we wouldn't be able to talk about any pocket squares or anything like that. It would just be simply the watches. And they'd all
Like
be
stripes.
sports watches. So it'd be quite flat. But we might wind up doing it eventually because
There may
because we
be a
don't
way
have-
to make it work. There may be a way to make it work to draw on their personal or pull up their personal style separate from when they're wearing, but it's not like an exact correlation with their watches and their style, but it could still work, but it would take effort to put it together. So who knows?
You mentioned Rampley & Co. on the show a few weeks ago, I think.
I did.
In passing. I think you did.
Beautiful. That's all silk, huh?
I was wearing a Rampley & Co. pocket square in the P2 Omo video in my.
Ah,
I think you do a great job with that. What is it called? The 4-peak? What did they call it? What's the term?
angled peak fold.
Angled peak. I think it would look great on a woman with a beautiful blazer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
that
wanted
was
to
that
try. I
was
just
nice.
making it. Yeah.
Yeah.
These are. Sorry, I don't have it up on the screen. Sorry, I'm just over here in the corner. I'll be thinking about that all night. I'm gonna wake up laughing. That one right there.
Yeah.
It looks kind of like a strange flower.
Yeah.
It's
I'd
not
be afraid
bad.
that guy's checking me out in the toilet, though.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It's just a little too much, a little too dandy.
I like the square fold looks good. The presidential fold, simple, clean, but
Mhm.
I like just taking it, bundling it, putting it in, and the way
Yeah.
kinda like that. Just the way
Like
it
that.
comes out, the way it is. It's just. But you
Me
said
too.
it's to interior designers. Is that what you're saying? And you said it with a little accent. You're saying it's to interior designer.
I should
Was
not
that-
repeat that because it was really not nice.
You're gonna get us in trouble, but I don't
Yeah,
care.
I don't want it. But
Hey,
like,
I like
I think I'd be
that
like,
one.
I think this wall should be fuchsia, and this is my peak lapel square.
I don't mind that one there.
I'm seeing
It's just kinda-
roses.
it's like a nice burst of color.
Yes.
But now you're making me paranoid. I'm gonna attract the wrong kind of fella.
No, just bunch it up and put it in. Don't
Yeah,
think
that
about
looks
it.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, if you
yeah.
do
It
like
shouldn't
an
be. It shouldn't be.
exquisite origami coming out, yeah, that might be a little bit telling.
You know, when there's too many things going on, like he's got the red tie, he's got the vest,
That's too much.
it's so many
Yeah.
things. But man, look at the fabric of that suit. Wow.
It's
Wow.
shining.
That's a window pane. That's a very faint window
Right.
pane.
Yeah.
And look at that. You look at the ticking on the edge of the peak lapel. Wow. It's peak, right? It's not notch, it's peak. Yeah, it is. Look at that.
Here?
Yeah,
That's
it is.
beautiful. Oh,
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would love to
adds
see
such a
that
dimension
without.
to the suit.
Yeah, there's too many colors going on. He looks like a bouquet. He looks like a floral arrangement. There's too much going on there.
I think in a more like formal setting it could work, but if you're just, I don't know, going out.
Hey,
to,
they've got
like-
all the ties here. Is that the presidential on the top, Michaela?
Yeah, I believe that's just the simple fold.
Yeah, these are great.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great.
This is kind of cool.
Yeah.
These illustrations look like they're from an old leaflet from the
They are.
50s or 60s, right?
It was in the back of Esquire.
Yeah, like
You just
ripped
tear it out,
Yeah.
Oh, look at this.
I'm sorry, but this one on the left, I know, Michaela, you're a fan, but that looks like a note was left. Like a teacher gave you a note to take off class that day.
Oh.
I've never been particularly a fan of that, actually. That's not. I don't mind it. I understand it, but I've actually never been a huge fan of that. I prefer just the bunch. That's my number one preference.
This
But
guy's
I
carrying a
understand that's your
doctor's bag.
detention- That's your detention note card, right there.
Right. He's got a doctor's bag. I saw Sigmund Freud's doctor's bag today.
You did?
SF, yeah. SF engraved on the top. It's crazy looking. That's not bad either. But now I'm paranoid about getting too, I don't wear a whole lot of color, so I don't think I have to worry about it. All right. Listen, the watch so far. Sorry, I'm rambling here. The watch that I thought was most impressive was P. Campbell's. I mean, maybe the DeVille, Don Draper's DeVille, but P. Campbell's was really impressive. What about Joan? We didn't look at Joan
the
from
glorious
Mad Men.
Joan. I mean, Joan should close it out because, my
Okay,
God.
so let's close out with Joan because
Joan.
we're well over an hour here.
Joan Holloway. And then what was her married name? Joan. Mrs. She became Mrs. Oh, God, how do I not know this? She married that doctor asshole that was in the army.
Joan Harris.
Joan Harris. Yes.
Joan
Mrs.
Harris.
Harris. Yes. Joan Holloway.
Big, buxom, gorgeous woman.
I mean, she's just. Where has the world been hiding her? Look, John Hamm. Where were these people? Where were these beautiful January Jones? Where were they all hiding? Because they were all in their 30s at that point.
Sorry, I'm looking for a decent link here. So sorry. Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
She kept a very classic 50s ideal body type silhouette with her.
Yeah, she sure did.
Very well, I mean, that's naturally her body, but definitely shapewear was huge back in that time. And it was essential. Women always wore undergarments that were like shapewear. And especially, you know, like the bras having the, what is that called? The pointed.
Underwire.
No, but yes, but the look was like I think it's called like the bullet bra, where it was like pointed.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
but she's obviously heavily bust, like, you know, so that's not gonna have the exact same effect. But
Right.
the undergarments were key to actually giving that perfect hourglass. And so with her clothes, what's interesting is even though she comes across as very provocative throughout the show, she actually is relatively conservative in the way she's dressed. If you really look at it, it's just her body that's so voluptuous. Like, she doesn't have a lot of cleavage going on. Her shirt or her hemlines are not very short, which, you know, because of the time period. Well, I mean, also she was in an office setting, so, but she just came across more provocative, even though she was dressed pretty conservatively. Thought that was interesting.
That's an early photo as well. That's from the first episodes, I'd say. She's a little slimmer in that photo. I think she grew. She kept getting more and more buxom. I don't know if they were doing that deliberately.
Wow, she is much smaller here. I mean, this is a big girl that is just exquisite. That's the way to be a voluptuous woman. And she always had that pen around her neck, which I think is so cute. I love that.
She had
That's
that
her
kind of
style.
power vibe. Like, she was very feminine, but, you know, strong in a feminine way, not in a masculine way. You know, that way. Like,
Sure.
just in you know, authoritative in a uber feminine way. Very, very sexy.
I mean,
I
she's
mean,
about
for
as
a
sexy as women
red-blooded
get.
male like me, I mean, that's the fangs come out when you see that shit. Like, that's whoa,
Yeah, you
really good
notice
stuff.
that she, even though she is a very powerful character, if you notice when she speaks to women and men, her voice changes a
Oh,
bit. When she speaks to a woman, she's very like stern and just kind of dominating. With men, she has more of a submissive voice, which means that she knows what she's doing.
she's playing with them.
Yes, and then as the season goes, she loosens up her hair a little bit, as would be, you know, with the times approaching the 70s. So she becomes a little more flowy, and I prefer her more, I don't know, just her hair a little more flowy, like just a little bit less tight. I think it accentuates her beauty a little bit better.
Didn't she have a little affair with Roger
Oh,
Sterling at
she
the beginning?
did.
Yeah.
The kid is his.
Oh, the
Her
kid
son
is
is
his.
Roger's.
Ah. I'll never forget his little compliments he'd give her. First of all, he'd throw gifts at her all the time,
Oh
which
yeah.
is a very smart thing to do. And then he paid her these odd, interesting compliments because he said, "I love your mouth. I love your lips. It's like a strawberry floating in a bowl of milk."
Wow.
He said something like that, and it was like, wow, like it's inventive rather than just going, "You're beautiful, baby." You know, he
Right.
actually
Yeah,
had a little bit of poetry to his compliments. You know, which
so
was
much better.
yeah.
People are so unoriginal with their compliments. I mean, you don't have to say strawberry in a bowl of cream, but you know, like somewhere in between. People are very just basic now. They're just like, yeah.
You're hot.
I know, like the
So
the English
she got a little
language
heavier
has so
there.
much, so many beautiful adjectives,
She wore a lot of primary colors too: red,
like
blue, green,
gemstones, like
yellow.
gem colors. Yeah, that's her color
Yeah.
palette, like the vivid gem colors. And I think that pen, actually, that kind of long pen necklace was kind of a staple of the time, but it also showed, like you were mentioning earlier, that she's a powerful woman. It's kind of
So
showed her
powerful.
authority.
It's everywhere. I never noticed it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
in
Yeah,
most
I
of
think
these
she wears
photos. Yeah, let's almost like to represent like that she's using that pen to sign checks and to move mountains, you know, all of that kind of thing. That's the feeling you get from it. Looks like she has a little Cartier right there, which would be very Joan to have a Cartier.
So Joan. Wow, I'm just like Googling through so many Joan websites, and my God, there's some stuff that she is just exquisite
Pull it up
at.
if you feel like it.
Wow.
I'm just going through a ton of stuff here. Look at this. She can rock the purple. Yeah, it's a beautiful woman. What are you going to do?
Hold on one second.
Yeah,
One
her
moment,
style is
please.
iconic in the show. There are
Hold on.
lots of Pinterest boards about her looks.
Let
Same
me
with
show you
Megan.
some of this shit. Look at this. Look at this action. Can you see that?
Yeah, I mean, it's all small. You've got to zoom. You've got to highlight one of them. There you go. Gorgeous.
Wow. Look at her. And the boys are having a business meeting in the back. She said that's the she's in the office with the one-way mirror. Pardon me. Look at that. Just what an exquisite creature she is. She wore a lot of primaries.
Yeah, look at that blue.
I think she's
Wow.
also a fan of brooches.
Yeah,
She just
brooches.
wore-
And she wore a lot of this neckline as well. Look at that.
Yeah, but as you see, even though she is very sensual naturally,
Yeah, there's no cleavage.
she is extremely, yeah, she's pretty conservative with what she's wearing.
Yeah, it's like she doesn't have to work the cleavage because it's pretty obvious there's a lot
Right.
there. So it's like,
Yeah.
why give
A little
you know,
would go a long way. Really.
Yeah.
Look at her. Oh my God. Oof.
Yeah, there's absolutely no cleavage in any of these photos at
No,
all.
she's
That's-
fully covered up.
I'm
Isn't
just
that
realizing
magical?
Yeah.
that. And it's so much
in an office
classier.
setting.
Hey, there's a tiny bit.
Yeah. Now, do you remember this scene? This was the guy, I think it was for Jaguar, where they wanted the accountant. He wanted a night with her, and
Oh, that's right.
everyone was in on it except for
For
Don.
Dawn.
And he came
That was
to her
my
and said,
favorite episode because
yeah.
he said, "Don't do it."
"Don't do it." And
What?
she had already done it.
She hadn't.
She had already done it.
Oh, she had already.
And
I
she
thought.
became partner.
Oh man.
She said, "If I do this, I want to become." And somebody said something so flippant.
And Dawn tried to stop her, right?
He did. He said, "What do you mean? I didn't say okay to that." He went to her apartment and she said, "Aren't you the good one, or aren't you the sweet one?" Well, don't you worry about it. He had already left.
Oh.
And look, he gave the redhead an emerald because that's what looks the best on a redhead.
Yes.
There's a bit of cleavage here too. I mean,
Dawn should have wound up with her. Good, strong, sensible woman would have kept
She's
Dawn
too
on
strong
the
for
straight
him.
and narrow. Too
yeah,
strong.
No,
He
she's
just
too
wanted little Barbie dolls. That's all.
He wanted little playthings that he could ruin and manipulate, and she's not that person. Joan is
Yeah.
not that person. Look at that.
Tim
You're
Wright, great
She's
show,
almost-
guys. Make sure to upvote. Thank you, Tim. I'll send over the crowd to you afterwards because they'll be starved for watch chat.
Yeah.
Mr. Badgas, $5. What does she not show? What does she does not show? I can't fucking speak tonight. Sparks the imagination. Yes, I'm a big believer in that. Like, just like leave less, leave more to the imagination. Show less, and it makes the mind do all the work, all the heavy lifting, and then it's
So no
really, really-
leggings with your belly hanging over it.
I mean, she's a buxom woman. She's got a couple extra pounds on her, but she accentuates them in such a beautiful way that every man in the world is drooling over her because she's not flabbing all over the place and wearing, Lululemon, which is just
But also one of the things is if you do have a larger bust, it does actually make you come across overall obviously more large. I honestly think that, especially in like the early photos we're looking at, if she had a small chest, she would not look bigger at all. I think she wouldn't. She would look probably relatively just average to, but that's what happens when you have a large chest. And if you don't wear fitted clothing, it's going to hang off of your chest like a lot of women with larger busts because this style with big t-shirts and all that is so in, and mom jeans. But these clothes, they hang
Mom
off of your
jeans.
chest. Yeah, like big mom jeans and boyfriend jeans. And these big
Boyfriend
t-shirts, they
jeans.
hang
What's a
off your
boyfriend
chest.
jean?
No, but
I
really,
never heard of that.
Never heard of that. What is a
yeah,
boyfriend jean?
it's almost like mom jeans, but they're baggier, usually a little more masculine looking. That's why they're called boyfriend jeans.
I've
Mom
seen men
jeans,
wearing mom jeans, and I'm
oh
amazed
Lord,
by it.
wow, that's
I mean, stonewashed, baggy in the ass. Oof. Wow.
yeah. But anyway, it
Ouch.
overall just makes you look bigger. But dressing smartly and tailored
Yeah.
clothing like she is the best way to.
Do you know what a
Dress your
problem
body.
is? People are shopping on Amazon for clothing. They even have a thing called Amazon, I think it's Closet or Amazon, something like that, where they send you the stuff and you try it all on and then you send back what doesn't work. And that's the worst way to ever buy stuff. No offense. I know people have done it. And I did it once with a couple of shirts and I sent them all back because they were horrible. The quality was crap. I didn't like anything about it. But I've seen people wearing the most ill-fitting clothing in the last 5 years, which is really the biggest proliferation of Amazon on our society as a whole, because everybody's just buying everything online. Nobody's going into a store and having somebody come up and fix your, check your inseam and all your measurements. That doesn't happen very much. That's why the brick and mortar store is dying. But wow, I've seen mom jeans on guys. And I didn't know about boyfriend jeans. That's really
Gross.
scary. So you've got a boyfriend, so you can just fill out these extra wide jeans. Is that what that means? Is that the
Yeah,
connotation?
it gives you, it's kind of a style that females like to look masculine, but they're cute at the same time. They're like, see, look, I'm so feminine and cute. I'm so adorable. I can pull off basically wearing like guys' clothes, look like a skater kind of. But it's like, doesn't really work. But I mean,
Wow.
to each their own, honestly. But as you well know, I am more interested in timeless classics, female style, feminine style, and men's style too.
Bravo
So
for that.
I do, look at it, and aesthetically to my eyes, it doesn't look good. But
Does
yeah,
not.
so
Agreed.
Guys, that was a good
agreed.
show. I enjoyed the natter about Mad Men. And now I missed the show. I need to go
Watch
back
it.
and watch
It's
the full
available.
thing.
Watch it. I think I just watched it recently, and it was better. It was better the third time around. It really
Wow.
was. It was better. It was better. And there's things on there that now you would be like, how did they get away with that? Because we have to censor everything we do. You can't say.
so it's
anything.
more entertaining. Got it. I'll rewatch it.
Yeah, and you just can't believe the style and fashion, even down to silverware, place settings, little things, the way the kids are dressed.
And the bottle of Petrus.
The bottle of Petrus.
in the restaurant, they order a very expensive bottle of wine.
And
by the way,
they're
I was
at-
in a wine store today in Wien, and I bought myself a Beigeville. They had
Did you?
they have some beautiful French wines. They had Napa Valley wines. They had Dominus,
Oh,
and they had and they even had Penfolds and all sorts of great
wow,
selection.
Dominus, the California Petrus.
Right.
Christian Milieu. Oh,
Carolyn Martin, $50. Great show. Thank
Carolyn
you so
Martin.
much, Carolyn.
Thanks, love.
No need for that, but thank you so much, darling. Okay, guys. Well, thank you, Michaela.
Thank you.
Fräulein.
Fräulein.
I want to call you Fräulein now with that look.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need,
I
I
need
need two
the two
huge,
pints
yeah.
of beer with the
Yeah.
foam like a picture.
Can we talk about your lighting? It's different and it's so gorgeous.
It's an overcast day, and that makes a huge difference.
It's absolutely, your skin is
been so-
radiant.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So
Yeah,
dewy and fresh.
Thank you. It's the coconut mist I spray on my face.
Oh, look out.
No, but the overcast makes huge difference on the lighting. It's been a hot summer here, so it's been super bright in here every time I
Mhm.
come.
Wow.
I want to look at you one more time, Dirk, all dressed up. I see you so rarely like that.
Go. There we go.
You need a cigarette in the hand. I like the little bit of shadow and everything going on.
I got rid of my beard this afternoon,
Yeah.
this
I
morning.
know. I was noticing that.
It had to go. The hair had to go and the beard had to go. Got to mix it up.
Yeah, it's fun to do that, especially in the changing seasons to have a
Yeah.
fresh look.
Plus, in
Thanks
New
for all
York,
the
everybody's
comments,
weird.
guys. Everybody watching, thank you for the super chats. And we will see you all next week. Are we doing next Monday, guys? Anybody going on any more holidays?
I'm not going
Oh
anywhere.
God, no.
I am, but I'll do the show.
Where are you going to be?
I'll be in Ireland. I'll probably have Jerry O'Malley sitting
Oh,
next
next
to me.
week. It's a big birthday coming
is a big-
up. Mr.
Yeah,
O'Malley.
I'm finally 29.
29. That's
So,
the age.
All right, guys. Great show. Loved it. Thanks so much. See you, everybody. Thanks for the chat. Thanks for all the questions. Sorry if I missed any questions. Thanks for the super chats, guys. See you next week.